and we are live for the SUSE QE Tools workshop. So I welcome everybody to today on short notice. I wanted to give Michael Griffalconi an opportunity to talk about um, a great topic related to a great start in a recent pull request. Originally, I had planned to present the automated OpenKey test to verify OpenKey multi-machine setup. We will do that, but in 2 weeks from now. So now, Michael, stage is yours.
Thanks a lot. So let me share the screen again. All right. So here it is, but we don't need it immediately. First of all, I wanted to give a quick introduction to make sure we are all on the same page about how updates get approved. So I will call update the thing that gets tested and then released to customer. In some cases and somewhere in the code, you might see this as called as incident, but that's conflicting with incident test, which is another thing, and aggregate test. So let's call it just update. So when an update is created and comes to us for testing, it gets scheduled on OpenQA, and a lot of things happen automatically, which is cool. But then, since we have maybe hundreds of tests running for a single update, something can go wrong, and we need manual action every now and then from maintainer of this automated test. So we have two kinds of tests. We have incidents test, which gets scheduled immediately when an update is ready for testing, and they run exclusively on this update. That means that if it's an installation test, we install the OS, we install the update, we check that everything is working, we do some other things, and then I see some noise in the background. I'm not sure if it's is it you, Oliver, or okay? No, I don't hear it anymore.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
good. Thank you.
Thanks. And this test gets scheduled just for this update, so it's much easier to know if the update is causing a failure on this. So it can either be this update or a problem in the test or in the infrastructure, which we consider this a problem in the test. This stuff run only once. So when the update is ready, it's scheduled. If it's green or red, whatever, it never runs again until you either restart it because it was red and you try to fix it, or if it's green, it will count as done. It's fine. Then we have aggregate tests. Aggregate tests are more complicated since they run once a day, later in the evening, with all the updates which are under test. So everything that was submitted for the day, plus everything else from previous days that was not approved. This means that if we do again this installation test, we install the OS and we install all the updates which needs to be tested together. So you all know that if something fails, it's more tricky sometimes to find what is causing that, and it's more painful to debug, let's say. Makes sense to make sure that all the update works as well together. So it's not a complaint about that, but just to show that it's more tricky to solve issues if they appears. Another important topic about this aggregate updates is that they run every day. So every day we have a new run, and right now we only care about the latest one. So if a test was green yesterday for a specific update and today is failing, then the yesterday test right now is not considered. So what's the problem here? The problem is that if you have hundreds of updates and we need everything to be green at the same time to approve something, in hundreds of updates, something can go wrong one day and something different the day after. and then you never get all green situation, let's say. And this is painful also for test maintainers, because every day they have to rush and they have up until the end of the day to fix something, because then let's say the work is lost. Not entirely, because of course if it's something reproducible, it will fail also the next day. So it's always good to fix failures. But sometimes it's painful, because a squad may focus hard on one day to fix everything, and then the next day might have different priorities or different emergencies to look for. And then if another squad is out of sync with this schedule, and we don't focus on fixing everything on the same day, it's kind of lost effort, because no updates will be approved. Even though the test for a specific update was green at least once. So the problem we are trying to solve here is that on day one, an update have some incidents test, which are all green, because of course, if these are not green, they are scheduled only for this update, so you have to fix them either way. But then you also need all aggregate to be green at the same time. And on day one, this update might get all, let's say, 200 aggregate tests green, but test 12 is failing. The squad responsible for that fixes that and is expecting on day two to have this test green. And it is. On day two, updates have everything green but test 41, because for some other completely different reason. So the test will not be approved. With this new logic, it will be approved, because uh, we have on day two test, just a second, I will come to you. On day two, we'll have test 41 only failing, but we go back one day, we see that test 41 yesterday was green, and of course was including this update that we are trying to approve, because otherwise it's meaningless. And then we still approve the update. This will not require any action from squads. Of course, squads are very much invited to fix everything as soon as possible, but this will hopefully improve a bit quality of life and give a little bit less emergencies asking for a very quick review for updates which are getting late. Yes, Anton.
I have one concern here.
Mm-hmm,
So you just said that every day we're taking all updates which currently is about to be released,
mm-hmm.
and we're testing them, which means
Yes.
that, for example, yesterday we were testing update number one and update number two,
Mm-hmm,
and we had to test. We have to test test one and test two, and yesterday test one was green, and test two was red,
mm-hmm.
and today test two was fixed, and test one is failing. But in today's run, it could be that to update A and B, there is also update C come on top,
Mm-hmm.
and cannot clearly say if the reason of today's failure is just like I don't know, some glitch, or maybe it caused by the fact that there is a new update coming on top. uh,
So,
and and I'm not sure how you will address this in this logic. We just which is try to be positive and looks
mhm.
a combination when everything is green.
Yes. So, in your example, update 3, which came only today, of course, will not be approved, because there is no test from yesterday containing update 3. So
Mm,
we only approve, uh, we only ignore failures if there is a green test from the previous days, including the update we are trying to approve. Not everything, of course. The
Okay.
only risk that we could see thinking about this is, of course, that if update 3, which is introduced today, breaks update 1 for some reason and is conflicting with that, or update 3 shows a problem into update 1 on a clash or something, then might be an issue. But it's not really, because we approve only 1 and then we investigate 3. And then we don't release 3, which is breaking 1, for example. I know we are doing a lot of
Yeah.
complicated
So
discussion here.
at least,
So we can look at the code
for
now.
update 3, you would have a chance to still not release it unless
Yes.
the same thing happens again, vice versa, where, you know, also often we do not have clearly reproducible issues. So it could very well be that you're releasing the regression because you first approve update 1, then you turn out to approve update 3 as well, and then you release the regression.
Well, if update 3 does not work with update 1, update 3 will always be red for
if it's
all the
clearly
time.
reproducible all the time,
yeah.
yes, but there might also be the window where you say,
Mhm.
okay, I can actually look back into the history, and yeah, okay, you shouldn't find any passing job which includes update 3 then if it's clearly
Right.
reproducible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's have a better look at the code, maybe. So let's see if this. I'm not sure this is a great way.
And
Let
you
me
can
show
switch
that
to the
on
single, so
code.
to unified diff. Actually, you know, I always use that if maybe it's that.
I can show that on Visual Studio Code, maybe.
You can click on the cogwheel next to conversations. There is a cogwheel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, thanks. Let's
Yeah,
see.
that should, and then you
Awesome.
can probably also fold away the sidebar on the left. Yeah, that should be good enough, because, you know, the first change is simple, so you're defining one constant.
Yeah. We can start from the main thing, and then we move to the right place. We have a lot of conversation here. Can I also reduce or fold our conversation? Or
I don't think so.
We can try to do it anyway. So let's go in the place where we try to approve updates. Here it is. So at some point in the bot script, we check that everything is green at the same time. Now, I won't go too much into the architecture of a bot, which actually is not looking at live data, but at some cache data. And then we are requesting live data for this change. That could be a lot to talk about. I was talking about this change, this new logic, since a couple of years, and some time ago I tried to move everything to live data and restructure a lot of things, because when you start touching something, you see, this might be done in a different way as well, and then you end up rewriting everything. So that's not an option. So this is a very small change to just add this feature without touching too many things around you, to not make the castle, let's say, fall down. So this function is the place where we look that everything is green. Maybe I can increase a little bit. So what we do here, for every result, we are looking for a single update. So we're not like approving stuff in bulk or whatever. So for every single update, we look that all tests related to this update are green at a single time. So for every result, if a job is passed, we continue and we look at the next result. Pretty simple. We already added some exception here. I hope you all know that there is a way to mark a single failure acceptable for a single update. which is not a soft fail. A soft fail, you just force the result, like it's ignore this result for everybody, which is pretty risky on a aggregate test, of course, because you must be sure that none of the maybe 25 updates under test are causing this, and it's really just a problem that you want to ignore, and let's say, okay, let's disregard this test. When you don't want to do that, but there is an update which is very urgent, and someone asks you, this test is failing and is blocking this update, are you sure that is unrelated? Yes. So then let's try to get this update out to our customers. And this is how it's done. So there is a comment into OpenQA, a special comment that says job acceptable for something. For incident, yeah, this is what I was talking about. Incident is the update right now. So this job is acceptable for this specific update. Ignore this failure. And this is how it's done. So we look if on the job which is failing, there is a comment asking for this override. And the comment, of course, is related to the update we are trying to approve. If this is the case, we consider this as passed. Right now, we are adding one more check, as the branch is called. We try harder and we don't give up trying to update stuff. And we do one more check. So this is just to check if it's an aggregate update for how the bot works. Because the job we are checking this job on the dashboard. The dashboard has a different API for aggregate and incidents. Is not interesting on this conversation right now. But we check if it's an aggregate. We check if it was green before. It was okay before we were named that. If yes, it counts as passed. How do we check if this was green before? Now that's the complicated stuff happens here. So to check if a job was green before, I would how would I do that manually? So for example, this test is blocking some update approval. It's only this test. So I check that the last green or soft fail, which count as green. We don't care right now much about if it's green or soft fail on the matter of approvals. We go there, we check in settings. Here are all the updates which are being tested. We check if the update is in here or the update ID, which we call incident ID to make it more confusion, but is here, then we know that this same test yesterday, actually, it was restarted a few times. Yesterday was passing and was including the update we care about. Then we force approve manually from IBS. This is what happens when we get some urgent request of approving stuff. And this is what was actually being done manually by the OpenQA reviewer a few years ago, which of course is painful. It's just manual work. It doesn't require any special developer knowledge. You just look back in the data and we check that the same number is also there. So it's kind of frustrating. It's error prone, and yeah, it's not a fun thing to do, let's say. Yes, Anton?
Wasn't so. What effect will this have to this job, to MDAdmin?
Nothing will remain failing. We just ignore this failure for a specific update approval.
Okay, and the the incident that causes MDAdmin to fail will not get through.
Sure, because if something, let's forget about this stuff down here. Let's imagine that a new update.
Just making sure that I understood. That's good.
Yeah. So if a new update gets introduced for testing at this point here, you see my mouse, right?
Yep. Hit a cursor.
Okay, because some screen sharing, you don't see the
Yeah.
mouse. So if this something gets introduced here and it starts failing, it will block everything else which is under testing. And with this new feature, we can look back and approve other stuff. But of course, this incident that is creating this failure, it was not tested the day before. And that's why the day before was green. Now, on this specific case, there is no incident causing this, or there is a fix on the way and so on. But yeah, just to give an idea of how this stuff works. So, of course, something newly introduced that fails from the first time, it cannot be approved because you will never find a green test in the past, including this update, of course. And that's how we check this. So we get the older jobs from OpenQA, and get older jobs. It's sorry for jumping around. Is here, get older jobs. So we just request this kind of API, which is not really an API on OpenQA. So there is a idea to maybe submit a feature request and make this an API for OpenQA. Right now, this is the exact same call that the UI makes to the backend to get this table. So if I make this call, I get this stuff here, which is just the list in a ordered way of updates with some information about them, like was passed or not, the ID of that test, and so on, like the one that you see in a fancy way here. You get the if it was passed or not, the build, and the ID, which is the thing you need to open the link. So let's go back here. I just get a few of this. So you could get all of them. Right now, if I ask for all of them, I get 57. I don't think we are going to need that. So maybe I show you also another function that I had to add, which is very simple. We just get job information, like the same thing of getting a job with all its parameters. So let's go back here when we ask for updates. Oh, I'm lost again. Here it is. Get older jobs. So then I from this data here, I get the build, which is this one here, which is the date -1, because some time ago we had multiple builds every day. Right now it's only -1, but we can improve the code to not care about this -1 or -2, for example. Here I just remove a -1 and then I try to parse the date. Anton suggested that there is a nicer way to parse the date than picking the characters. We can improve that. It's not a big deal or change. So now I didn't say that I ask for 20 updates. Of course, this is one of the magic numbers that I dreamed about while developing this code. No, I just needed a bunch of tests. We can think about choosing a better number in future if we need more or we need less. Then I choose also how many days, and that was on the very top of this pull request. I selected 6. How many days you want to go back? Of course, I don't want to go back 30 days. 6 seems reasonable. Of course, as the more days you look back, the more chances you have to find a a successful job. This only happens for updates, of course, that get stuck for testing for multiple days, because if in an ideal world, if every update gets approved every 3 days, 6 going back, it's not is not useful. But sometimes something gets stuck for a few days for testing. So 6 days seems reasonable, not too much to hand up into inconsistent, too old, strange data, but we can also think about fine-tuning this. Then I compile some regular expression just to find maintenance colon the update ID. This is just that I want to find this in the update settings on my older job that I'm looking to, because this is the proof that this old aggregate test includes the update under test, because I cannot just pick a green test 5 days ago that was not including the updates. Yes.
I'm afraid that there could be a scenario when we have a false trigger like this. Why you don't want to be more certain and search into special field and settings? Because I don't know, there could be some crazy scenario where someone provide a variable which contains some text which doesn't mean something for us, but it will still match the string.
Yes, I mean that's why also I'm looking for maintenance and the part of a URL of a repo instead of just looking for the ID. But that's a valid point. We could try to
Yeah,
get
you could
exactly that
just
variable and look into that. This was just simple and a simple way to make sure that this thing actually worked in the end. But please feel free to add a comment into the pull request about this, and we can look further to make this uh, better and look at the right variable. Actually, now that you make me think about, I feel like that a few we have different variables. I would have to look into that, but maybe it's not the best way to show it on the screen, since maybe a variable contains some other stuff. But I fear that some variables have different names for the same thing, like LTSS test repos, and in some other
there is
places test
but
repos.
but we could just search. We don't need to go with this test repos, and actually we don't need this maintenance column thingy.
Okay.
If we would just go for variable star test issues, there is a variable LTSS test issues, then I don't know, base test issues or whatever other, but everyone
Yeah, but
everything
we
could.
have the same problem that in some situation we have LTSS test issues, in some other we have another, but
Yeah,
we
but
can
it's
discuss
always
that
you can
offline. And
still filter by test issues.
yeah,
First
we
filter
we can
variables
try
and then
to improve.
search in these variables. It would be probably a bit more complicated, of course, than just a simple match call, more logic, but it would be also more stable.
Yeah. Or
Santi wanted to say something.
yeah.
Yeah, the problem with the test issue, and Oli, correct me here if I'm wrong, is that there is a limit in the number of jobs or settings that that API route has. And for now, Tools team will be working on a fix for this, but there is an upper limit for of 20,000 jobs from the most recent one. And this could imply that a failing job might not be a part of the set of results. So while test issues using start test issues is a good idea. There is that very small problem that we have right now, but it should be fixed eventually.
I'm not following how this is related. 20,000. We are querying just less 20 jobs.
No,
How?
20,000 overall, and out of those, you are looking for matches. So in particular, for
No, well,
incidents, it could be that you're not finding enough from the history to be able to find any magic job. So your result would that you say, oh, there are no jobs matching evaluation. You could still go into the logic that you right now as a second level to say, well, if the first didn't reveal any, then we could try that.
You mean like that in 6 days we're running more than 20,000 jobs and then we are lost something
Yes.
behind this?
Yes.
Can you
so
say how
that's
many
fine.
jobs we are running daily?
I don't
Something
think
like
it's
3,000.
I don't think it's the point here because I'm not
Yeah.
querying all OpenQA jobs. I'm asking OpenQA to give me the last 20 of the same job. So OpenQA does everything for me and gives me the last 20 jobs. So it's not an issue of global search or very big filtering.
No. What you do is fine. What you could do instead of, you have the list of jobs which are candidates, then you check if
Mhm.
they are applicable. So you could within each job check the setting, but then that would
Mhm.
be
So you mean asking OpenQA for this as well and not check locally?
yes, that would be like yet another request for each job.
Okay. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, let's look at how this is happening here. So I get the list of 20 jobs, which is just a list of job IDs. And then we go into that. I check that the build is usable, so that the build is not too old. Then I check if it's passed or soft fail, because we have a passed only on the dashboard, which hides the soft fails. But here we are querying OpenQA, so we have to handle both passed and soft fails. If this is the case, I then ask for the job settings. I ask OpenQA for the job settings, so just on the case where the date is usable and the job is passed. And then I look into the settings, and then we can improve a little bit the search also in this place here. Then I try to give some meaningful logs depending on the situation. I cannot ignore the failure because the job do not have the update under test. If I don't find the update under test on the first, let's say, job looking back, I don't look back on the second oldest and the third oldest, because why? So if it was not, if the update was not tested yesterday, was probably not tested last week. So I just give up immediately. If instead the test is green, the date is fine, and it is tested also on this older job, I ignore this the failure before, and I consider this as passed, and I move on. And here some other logging on different case of failures where either the date or the job is not included, whatever. So I return through here and I count the old failure as passed. And this is mainly it. Yes, Anton.
I don't know, maybe I was not using OpenQA API for a long time, but this Ajax confuses me. Is it like normal way to query the jobs?
So this, what you see here is just a check that the API used.
No, but
up there.
upper you have where you get
where you're
the whole
carrying
list.
OpenQA.
So here get single job, and here let's see here, get older job is two functions that I added
Yeah, and
into
scroll
the
to
OpenQA
implementation,
API.
please. Scroll to
It's
implementation.
Yes,
it's a new
line
implementation.
124. Yes,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
GET request has Ajax
Yes.
predefined. So that's what gives the machine readable information. Get the list from this list. There is no, so this will probably stay like that, but we don't call it a stable API because
Mhm.
well, there is simply no direct API call in the namespace of API. The word should be
Yeah.
the same.
That was just something to translate what was like, let's say, I call it just monkey job, like I did for few thousand times in the last year. That is, look at previews, check if update is included. Okay, I can force approve. And to translate this into a machine, I just stole this call that um, it was done for the table. Of course, we can think about improving this, maybe
but
contributing an official API and so on.
but you saying, Colin, now that this is not that it's not considered a stable API.
Yes,
It's
but
not an official
effectively,
API, but yeah.
that will very likely to stay forever like that.
And let's look at the worst case. We cannot get older jobs. Everything works as before without this new feature.
Yeah, but it's not the worst case. The worst case if we'll get some trash here, and then we would do false conclusions.
Yes, we will get some random job that still must be green, must be not too old, and must include the update under test. But yeah, if the next previous table here is messed up, I will mess up force approving stuff when it's urgent too. So I will do it too as a human. So and then if let's go back one step. This is mainly to propose some better quality of life for squads. If no one has a big disagreement about this feature, we can of course invest into making this more stable. Next step would be to contribute another API for this, and so on. I don't think it was worth to build a lot of things on top if the entire initial idea gets rejected. So while we build some unit tests for this, which are not present yet in the pull request, we can also think about getting this better immediately before merging or as a next step right after. First thing I wanted to get was how do you feel about this? Do you think that might improve a little bit pings in your squad chat saying, hey, this is failing, can this be approved, and so on. A little bit, but still not make you, of course, want to disregard failure. Yes, Santi.
So two comments. On one end, as we were chatting internally, or when it came to this Ajax thing, I think that the best way, and I think that the tools team might appreciate it, is to create at least one ticket to leave it there. It's a low hanging fruit to try to move this next and previews to what will be a stable API, because this is something that we rely on for our day-to-day job when we are doing reviews. So if it breaks, we will know very fast. So Anton, on that side, you can be safe that we will notice it if there is some trash there. But moving away from that comment, I personally really like the proposal, because not only it saves time for not only it values the time of the reviewer of the previous day, but also it will serve us into making sure that we have how to say that the latest data that we have is actually useful when it comes to taking a look at today's review. So we will not have to go back manually for the previous day to see if this test is a flaky one. It will potentially hide certain issues when it comes to um, those sporadic ones. But overall, I really I'm really up for it. But we will eventually also need to track down those ones regarding stability. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah, before giving the word to Anton and Oliver, just one more remark to make sure that this is, of course, not something to make squads less likely to review failures, but is to make squads find more time to review real failure and waste less time on emergency pings, asking them to, is this failure possible? Can this failure be ignored for this specific update times 20 times, maybe
Yeah.
a week?
I actually I have that and the concern from Antonos brings me an idea how you could make your implementation likely more easy. Because the problem with this approach that I see is there is no feedback in QA when that decision is taken. It's just mentioned log file, meaning that on the dashboard still looks red and something improved, and also the reviewers use when they focus on let's get rid of the unreviewed failures, they don't know if they actually need to review that to get something. In the worst case, wasting time reviewing something for something that's already approvable.
So you want to put comments.
On the other hand, implementation in the bot is tricky. So how about the following? Just make a separate application, a separate script, which writes on OpenQA directly the approvable for incident comment, because by that your implementation is easier and the feedback is direct because you're using a core OpenQA feature. So you're automating the review, right? It would have the same effect because that's what you're saying, right? But also other reviewers would immediately see, okay, that job is already approvable for.
That's a very good point. I mean, can be a separate script, can still live right here in a earlier place just before approval.
Right.
But yeah, we can think about that. We can maybe have a look into the logs, because what I fear is that we might put a lot of comments approvable for, which might bother someone looking at that, because let's say we have 40 updates under test. In one aggregate update, we get 40 comments approvable for, or 39.
Sorry,
we can discuss about that.
You're just proving my point. If you really have 40 jobs that need reviewing, then it's worse, because then managers ask like, hey, why is it always red? And then they find those jobs which are always red and they don't even have the comment. So having 40 comments a day is better than having red uncommented jobs.
Yeah, we can continue the discussion.
It's not denying your approach. I mean, you can consider that script as a proof of concept using your logic, just uh, a bit simplified, so that it can run standalone. You can also use the code and import that module from some Python code.
Yeah, we can think. I will think about that, and we can discuss, maybe follow up into this, because we have also to consider the situation where we have a lot of approvable for, but the update is still not approved because one failing test is not approvable for this. So we might have a lot of noise, but we can follow up about that. Let's see if we have other discussions. This is a valid point to follow up, and might take some more time and maybe some tries changing the code. Any other idea, comments, things against or in favor of this? Yes, Anton.
Yes, so first of all, I want to give a +1 to what Oliver said. This is some kind of another flavor of the same problem which we already have when you doing when someone is doing a forced release of the some maintenance updates somewhere in Smelt or in IBS. I don't know how it happened, but the main point is that you don't get feedback into OpenQA, and basically people who try to do their job by making everything green and reviewed, they still trying to fix some issue which probably doesn't make sense to fix anymore because update was released anyway. And this logic would give just another use case for this problem. You would still have these red tests in OpenQA and no feedback to reviewer that you can ignore this. And this is something what needs to be addressed. Yeah, because it's causing basically waste of time for people. Another point, so generally speaking, I agree that this would save some time for everyone and it would improve situation, but also I see several scenarios, pitfalls where we can get into some bad scenarios and even not notice it. So Santi said that if there will be a trash, we would notice this. I am not sure about from where he gets such confidence that we would notice it. You would have some maintenance update approved, and if it happens in automatic way, until customer will paste you a bug that something is wrong, you would not notice that it was.
That happens with human review.
Exactly.
Yes, sure, of course, but I am saying that there is some ways to get into trouble and to make chances less. I would add some more safety checks, which from general perspective they don't need it here, but I would add them anyway. Like for example, making sure that the list what you get is containing the same build or the test name is matching. So checks like this, they can be added. They shouldn't cause any issues to the whole flow because it's supposed to be the same. So it would be just like several extra checks which not cause any troubles, and you already get all job settings, so all should be fine. But this double, triple checking would just make the chances that something goes wrong very much less.
Yes, so the build is something we already check, and of course it cannot be exactly the same because we are looking to older builds and the build is the date. But I like very much the test name check to make sure that we get the same test as an older job and we don't look at a completely different job. This is something makes sense to do. And to reply to the first thing, since you mentioned that you like more comments to have better feedbacks to avoid reviewing test for nothing. Yeah, I remember what happened a few days ago, but please mind that we are just talking about aggregates, and aggregates are always worth fixing because aggregates maybe are not interesting for a specific update, which was green yesterday, so you don't need to fix this, but you will need to fix this for the updates that were submitted today and need to be approved tomorrow. So aggregates are always worth fixing. Incidents are not, and we are not talking about incidents in this case. So incidents are important to be fixed only when an update is under test. The only situation where an incident is broken and a test gets approved is from a manual action. And that happens hopefully less and less often on emergencies. And when maybe stuff is broken, left there for maybe a week or so, or maybe something very urgent comes and there is a lot of noise on Slack. But this will not change anything for incidents. So you will not end up in a situation where you are trying to fixing something which is not meaningful to fix, because might not be meaningful to fix for a specific update, but it will be for all the other updates that came today and will come tomorrow. I don't know who was first.
I'm not sure if it was me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the coming back for a moment with the when Anton mentions confidence in me saying that we will realize very fast, is that if so on one end, if we get approvals, so if we approve an update mistakenly, that update will end up going to a customer, and we will definitely get a bug open very, very fast. That's one way. The other way, so this is of course the most expensive one. The other way is that we've had this next and previous available for the past, I think 6 or 5 years, and it's useful specifically only for aggregates, because for single incidents, the last the previous we are getting bills combined. So if the incident that we are testing is something for system D, it might be possible that the previous incident that this API will report is something for, I don't know, kernel or pacemaker. So this problem is a problem that we already have. It's documented. There is a feature request for this. So at the worst case, what this proposal is doing is making the effort of the reviews from previous days more worthwhile. So
okay, guys, Michael, please bring it to an end. We're out of time. You have the pull request. I'm happy to that there's a lot of discussion. Follow up in the pull request, or if necessary, we can also have more other sections about that topic area. Well, Michael, last words.
Yeah, just thanks everybody for joining. Please make sure to comment either the implementation or the general idea in the pull request. We can follow up either in the chat on the pull request, have a few meetings, and yeah, I'm happy that I don't see any, let's say, strong opinion completely against this thing, if I understood it correctly. And yeah, let's follow up.
If you stay,
Thank you
we'll
very much.
share one.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. Thank you, all. Thank you, guys. So with that, let's stop the meeting. The next time again will be first day of the month, and then we will discuss the roadmap 2403. So then, go and goodbye.